guys, good morning to you. Thank you for joining me today. I did my nails last night. I used my mini macaroon gel nail kit and I'm so happy with how they turned out. Trying to stop biting my nails, trying to just lay off these guys a little bit. Biting them, picking at them, like it's just a bad habit. It's been a bad habit all my life, but it's one that I have been able to stop at different times if I consistently did my nails. So that's where I'm at again and I'm feeling really good about it. Okay, today's video. You ever feel like you just see the same brands sort of on repeat on YouTube? It's the same kind of brands and new products getting talked about left and right. And there are so many brands out there. And I thought it might be fun to do a video bringing attention to those brands that don't get a lot of love on YouTube. I'm not saying nobody's ever talked about them. You will find stuff on these brands here or there. But I feel like they're a little more under the radar. And I'm not saying they're like maybe even the best brands ever. But I just want to bring them into the conversation today, okay? I want to talk about them. I want to see how they perform today with you. And we can just kind of chat about whether we think they need more love, you know? So it's going to be a full face, different brands, just spreading the love around a little bit on YouTube, a little more attention to these brands. I'm going to be starting off, I actually already did all my skincare, my SPF, all that good stuff, and I'm going to start off with Dermablend. First off, it's kind of funny to be talking about Dermablend as my coverage product when just yesterday I was using like my lightest coverage thing, the Glossier Skin Tint, and now it's like, okay, let's go to the fullest coverage. I feel like this brand has a real coverage emphasis. And I got these Flawless Creator multi-use liquid pigments late last year, I want to say, shade 30N, and they are really good, really great coverage, and I'm going to try applying them today with the Beauty Blender, and then we're also going to pair that with the Cover Care Full Coverage Concealer, which I have in 15C. So let's see how this Dermablend can pull off the old coverage today. Well, first off, the dropper doesn't want to... Come on, dropper. Give me something. No? Okay. This is what we do then. We just swipe it around the face. I don't know what's going on there. I think some just came out there on the left cheek. Sometimes I think there are formulas that are maybe just a little thick for a dropper style mechanism, you know? And this one's just a little thicker than straight liquid, and I just wonder if it doesn't pick up well for that reason. But look at how well it spreads. You know, those random little drops are just whoosh. Loving it with the Beauty Blender application. This is actually my first time trying to put it on with the Beauty Blender. So even. And seems to be a really good skin tone match, wouldn't you say? But tell me, who out there is a hardcore fan of Dermablend? And are there things that you feel like people are just really chatting up about this brand? Or do you feel like they're underrated? Let me know. I think they're kind of underrated because look at this coverage, like really nice full coverage foundation. I wish I could say exactly how much of a dropper I used, but it just wasn't like picking up with the dropper. Okay, just making sure I got it all blended in everywhere. Has anybody tried making those fried pickles in their waffle maker using cheese and pickles? I tried that last night. I was down a TikTok rabbit hole of watching people make things in their waffle irons, and this is not a super new thing. I think my friend Erica tried it like a while back, but you just put cheese in your waffle maker and you put your sliced pickles and you put a little more cheese and close it up, and your end result tastes like a fried pickle basically. You get a crispy, cheesy, yummy deliciousness. So it did work, but at first I didn't put enough cheese in there with it. And so I just heard this constant sizzle, and it was just the pickles like making contact with the waffle iron, and I needed a little more cheese. Once I did that, it was all good. Very satisfying. And now I'm just wondering, like, what else can I put in my waffle maker? What else would be fun to try? Let me know if you've got any great suggestions. It's gonna be my new side job. Okay, Dermablend, again, this is the Cover Care Full Coverage Concealer. This, I wanna say was a little bit newer product from Dermablend in the latter part of last year, correct me if I'm wrong. But let's just see how this compares coverage-wise to like a Tarte Shape Tape. I haven't used this a lot, so I just wanna see what I get, and I real recently used the Tarte, so. Just little dots around, and I'll once again use a Beauty Blender with this. I love that this shade is just a little bit lighter than my foundation shade was, because then I feel like I get the coverage, but I'm also a little more brightened, but it's not so light that it's like weird. And honestly, like, I'm not so sure I can really judge the coverage of this concealer because look what I'm putting it on top of. I'm putting it on top of a full coverage thing that basically blanked out most of my issues anyway. So I'll have to, like, I don't know, use this a little bit more. Maybe with tinted moisturizers, lighter coverage foundations, so I can really tell you. Does that make sense? Like, this didn't have a lot of work to shoulder right now. Man, guys, I mean, if you like coverage, I'm not sure how you can argue with this. I might do one more little dot right over here. Right there. Right there. This is sometimes a spot, like, when I immediately apply little dots under my eye, I apply them up a little higher, like in that cavern and right under the eye. And sometimes this area just to the side of the nose, that part misses out just a little bit, so I need to apply a bit extra there. See what I mean? Now it's a little brighter. Oh, it's been a while since I've complained about my contacts, but I have those toric lenses for astigmatism, so they're weighted. They're sitting on your eye. I mean, how crazy is technology? They're sitting on your eye in just a certain way to align and let you see out of them. Right now my left one is, I don't know what I'm seeing, but I think that looks good. Let's move on to another brand that's had quite an evolution on YouTube, I think, in terms of beauty YouTubers talking about them. It's MAC. This is my Mineralized Skin Finish Natural in the shade Medium. This is kind of a light-ish shade for me, but I got it not that long ago, actually, because I thought it might be a pretty setting powder, sort of T-zone brightening setting powder. But I had this a long, long time ago, too. I want to say 10 years ago. I've had some experience with this product. But MAC used to be like such a hot item back when I was starting YouTube. So back in like 2008-ish, 2007, you know, you would log on to YouTube and you'd see people pulling out their MAC singles, their palettes that they put together of single MAC shadows, and watch them put together just some fantastic looks. I mean, I'm looking at you, Julie G, and it was amazing. And you felt like you really needed to get some MAC in your collection. And I will never forget going to the St. Louis area to the nearest MAC store once upon a time, and I got like a lipstick, a bronzer, an eyeshadow or two, and I just thought that was the most exciting thing ever. But yeah, I just used that to set gently the under eye, the T-zone. I'm not really going to powder myself everywhere else because, as you saw, this shade, I think before I had something called Medium Plus that was just a little more like my skin tone, and this Medium is just a little bit light, but it works for setting powder, and it's a pretty powder, you know? As the name implies, I think it's kind of natural looking. It has maybe just the gentlest of sheens in it, not like artificial sparkly. But here's what I'd like to know. What do you currently love and use consistently from MAC? You know, they're still putting out like special collections. It's just a brand I kind of like wonder what's happening with that. Personally, I think they've got like some great lipsticks for sure. I think about their blushes from time to time. I need to see if I can pull out some of those. And again, with MAC, I found this contouring palette, the Studio Fix Sculpt and Shape contour palette with all of these like iconic shades. Like, I know I've heard people talk about Emphasize before, and I know Taupe and Sculpt and stuff like that. So this is kind of like the lighter end of this, and they have something deeper too. But I'm gonna try to just play around with this a little. This is the Taupe shade, this really cool contour. Let's use a little bit of this and try to sculpt the face. See what we think. This is very light. Does anybody get like kind of bored when the weather isn't doing anything interesting? Like, I like nice weather and all, but I also like it to do something now and then. We're in a long span of the weather not doing anything interesting. Like, I don't mind cloudy days at all. I'm not one of those people where the weather really affects my mood one way or the other, but I do get a little bit bored when the weather does nothing interesting for a long period of time. Like, you know, give me a thunderstorm, give me some snow, give me some whatever. Not literally asking for more snow, don't get on me. But how about this shade here? This is the one called Bone Beige. A little more warmth, I like that shade. These seem very, very matte, and I was swatching out the shimmers, or I mean the top shades last night, and they showed a little shimmer. Again, with the Bone Beige, this is just borderline, like, I can see the colors. Maybe these are the kinds of contour shades I should be using. I don't know. They're just really, really light, but I can see it. I can see the effect. And then we have these light shades. And what I was trying to say there was that I think they all have some amount of sheen. I'm gonna use Emphasize here. This really light one. Maybe it'll show. See that? That brightening, but it's so gentle. That is so pretty. Honestly, it doesn't even look shimmery. It just suddenly brought light to that area. Oh, that's the MAC Star. Emphasize is the shade of this. That one right there. It's like you can't get up close to me and really see sheen, but it looks so bright. Cool. That's fun. I'll put it everywhere. Alrighty, we use the Dermablend, we use the MAC. Now we're going to use a little Laura Geller. Who's talking about Laura Geller? I mentioned Laura Geller in a recent video. Somebody's comment was, is she still around? Like, yes. Just because it's not being sold in Ulta, which it is disappointing to me that Laura Geller is no longer in Ulta, but she is still on QVC and on her own website. I think QVC is the main wheelhouse there for Laura Geller. But I was on her website. I had mentioned how I got those long-wearing, like, budge-proof lipsticks that I'm really enjoying, and I also purchased a blush, and I got this little 3-pack because I'm a sucker for a little wardrobe of palettes. They came in this cute little box called Urban Garden face and eye palettes, so it's a full look in there, and she's done these around the holidays, but this seems to be more of like a spring vibe. This one's called Flower District, so that's your berry type look. The high line has a little more warmth. You can see some smokiness in there too. That's a really interesting look. And then we have Central Park, very pretty mix of shades, honestly, and the quality is great. I've used all 3 of these and I think they are awesome. And the packaging is so beautiful. See how they have a slightly different color scheme of flowers on each one. I think I'm gonna go with the Highline one today. So we'll be moving on to eyes in a minute, but I'm first using this for my blush and that highlight. So the blush is called Primrose and it has a little bit of shimmer. The blush and highlight in all of these are different and they're all pigmented and all gorgeous. But Primrose is kind of like a shimmery, rich peach. Popping that on here. Super pretty. Like, I just love the color combinations in here. And plus there's a little mirror and a little inspirational quote, bloom where you're planted. But Laura Geller's more iconic products in her line have been the baked things. She's kind of like, I think, the mother of baked makeup. The Balance and Brighten foundations, Bronze and Brighten, amazing baked blushes. She's been doing that and doing it well for a long time. And if you want a product that will last you forever, get a Laura Geller baked something and just see the fact that it lasts so long. So there's that beautiful Primrose blush. And now I'm gonna take a little Real Techniques where I took the end off. Still works. Goldenrod here. That highlighter. Laura Geller kind of took off briefly again with her highlights. Her, is it called Baked Gelato or whatever? She's kind of a goldeny colored highlight that just got really popular kind of when the whole highlighting craze took off. And that was kind of a big moment for Laura Geller. But other than that, I just don't hear a lot about her brand. And she's also got the Baked French Vanilla. And that's a gorgeous, like, barely there highlight. Kind of like what I put on there from the MAC palette that was so brightening. But there's a lot of matte in the Laura Geller Baked French Vanilla. I think it's a very popular product for people who just don't want too much sheen on top of their cheeks. I'm just taking this goldenrod, meanwhile, popping it everywhere. But I have loved that one, and I noticed if you follow Laura Geller on Facebook, I think she pops up with something, is it Mature Skin Mondays or something like that? I think she is trying to cater to giving advice to those with more mature skin, and I think that's great. But here we are, there's those cheek colors. We'll move on to the eyes in a bit. Get some coffee. You ever get a little too aggressive with your coffee drink and you almost spill it straight down your front? I don't have a certain brand I'm thinking of using for the setting spray, but I am to just use my Glossier Soothing Face Mist, the Rose Water Spray, while I've got it here handy. That rosiness is so satisfying, and look at the dewiness now that the skin appears to have. I'm going to be using my Almay Brow Styler. Almay, you know, here's another brand. Like, what have they got to do? What has Almay got to do to turn out a little bit more buzz in the beauty community? Well, here's one thing, Almay, if you're listening, I do think you need to work on shade range a bit more. Like they've recently put out that Healthy Biome makeup, which I think is a good, just a solid, like rich, kind of moisturizing, foundation-y, sort of CC cream feeling product there. It's really good, but they probably should come out with some more shades in that, you know? So that might help them, I don't know, gain a little more exposure. I don't know what the decision-making process is on stuff like that, but that might help. But just in terms of quality, like this brow styler is freaking great. So this is a fine brush thing that you can run through your brows, and it holds so good. The hold is one of the main points with this. I don't feel like it lays down quite as much color as Glossier Boy Brow or the e.l.f. Wow Brow, but it does tint a little bit, and it's just really good hold. But they've got those really good blushes. I can't think of anything else super new that I've tried from Almay lately. Let me know if you're an Almay diehard user. What are people missing right now? And I do understand with that makeup, like they're trying to, I think, market it as something a little more low fuss, easy, you know, it is kind of like a CC cream type thing. And with stuff like that, I think brands think that one shade is more forgiving and can accommodate more skin tones, so maybe they don't have to put out a ton of real specific shades. I get that, but I still think the whole range probably needs to go deeper. And some may say, well, Em, don't even use it if they're not doing that. And I see that. I see that mindset. But also, what's going to promote change more, being silent or saying something? I mean, I'm not saying the CEOs of all these companies are sitting down to watch my videos and hear what I have to say, but you know, you never know who is occasionally watching or stumbling across your content. And maybe if a person in power hears me say or bring up the things that I've said, you know, it may give them a little something to think about and keep in mind the next time they launch a product. Okay, so I've built this up a little bit, the Almay Brow Styler. Again, I've always thought its strongest suit is the hold, but as you can see, it will apply some tint. This brush is really small, and you can use that little guy all around to fill in some kind of precise ways, actually. I'm gonna use my Milani eyeshadow primer because nobody ever talks about this. I'm kidding. I think this is a pretty well-respected eyeshadow primer. That could have been the last. Possibly. But how are we liking the skin right now, my friends? It's amazing coverage. It's got a glow, a beautiful blush. Hard to argue with that. So now we're coming back into this, and I also pulled out something from TheBalm, these batter up shadow sticks. This is not so much to say, hey, this is TheBalm's best thing. More so I just wanted to bring TheBalm into this conversation. I think they need more love. I think they're a great brand. They do adorably thoughtful, beautiful palettes, just fun concepts overall, and they're also moving toward being a more sustainable, like environmentally friendly brand with their formulas and also their packaging. So there's a lot going right for TheBalm, but I just don't feel like they get talked about a whole lot. And I was just considering like maybe working one of these into the look. Let's play with one of those two sort of from a smudgy liner perspective, because I really want you to see how these shades are here. So we have those two mattes up top and the shimmers on the bottom. I think I'm going to take Maple, this really warm color, and gosh, the pigment, the softness, really feeling like a Lorac shadow there. I'm taking Maple to the crease. These are powder texture palettes, and they rocked it with everything. All the shadows, all the highlights, all the blushes. Really, really nice little palettes. All right, so starting out there, then I'm thinking about taking some Chocolate Vine right here, this shimmery brown, and maybe just adding a little bit of that to my crease also. Just starting to deepen up. See that? Just a little bit added in there. So this shade has shimmer, but it can certainly provide some contrast. I used this way more in my crease the last time I used this. I really liked it. And it's really pretty how that blends in with something warmer. Now I'm going to take Elderberry over here. So that's our black with shimmer. And I'm going to pat that on the outside. And the little sparkle, it doesn't really adhere super well, like it's not a big factor, and this comes off looking kind of matte, I would say. So just placing right out here. If you tap off the excess on these, I don't think you're going to run into a big fallout issue. I'm trying to just gently guide that shade into the crease by flipping my brush a bit. Back to the E25. We blend that up into the crease. Nice and smoky and rich. Who doesn't want a little springtime smoky eye, huh? Look at that. Moves really easily, blends like nothing. I may continue to bring in more warmth, but I think what I want to do now is actually go deeper in here as well. So I'm thinking chocolate vine right in this zone. And I'm leaving the center portion there for maybe just a dab of either wild ginger or the highlighter shade. And that brown is not super duper dark. Let's dab on a little bit of goldenrod, the highlighter shade just right in here. Center of the lid for a little splash. Tasty. And then not too much left to do here, except I do want to bring back maple because I think we lost it a little as we started doing all that darker crease stuff. But just let that warmth come back in here. Then I'll blend over the edge of this, don't worry. I'm still having issues with my contacts. Probably should keep some eye drops up here. Then just bare brush, gently buff over the edge of that. Cool. Then let's take our little guy here from TheBalm. This was the shade Night Game. So just a chubby stick. These do lock on and set for long wear. Gosh, this can be really dark. Okay, smudge brush. Let's use this little BK Beauty 204. Kind of smudgy, buff that a bit. See how far it can travel. Okay, that looks great, just softened up a little. Got real dark over on this eye though. Guess I need a little more over here. And then I'm gonna take that and put it on my lower inner rim as well, because we're going smoky. Even if you're using something jumbo like this, try to make sure it kind of works into the root of the lash so you don't look like you've got any kind of jump off between the waterline and the darkness below. The darkness below. Oh no! Would you look at what I just did there? I had like darkness on my fingers and I was going to swipe away a little fallout and I added even more. How bad is it really? Okay, locked in for life. I'm going to take a Q-tip to it, see if you can shear it out a little bit right on the specific areas where you've got the muddiness. Now this is what we have to do, guys. You have to put a little Dermablend right back over it. I know, it's not ideal, but Beauty Blender. Maybe a little more right there. Yes, it never happened. Now we got to keep in mind that we took away some highlight with that, and we'll add back a little more blush as well. See, it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Everything's fixable. Get some highlight back over. Put highlight back on the other cheek that didn't need it. I don't know that I really want to do any eyeliner up top. Do we think it actually needs it? I don't feel like it. I'm gonna curl my lashes and start talking about Malley. Now, Malley Lift and Curl Mascara is the one I have here. Malley has a history of doing some great mascaras. Remember just the classic volumizing mascara in the white tube? I mean, Malley has had some sensational products, actually. Her Face Defender, the Poreless Face Defender, where you use the sponge in this product that's just like kind of clear, like clear deodorant looking, and you dab it on your skin and it takes away all shine without leaving any residue or color. And a lot of brands have tried to dupe that, but have all pretty much been too creamy, so they do leave a residue, but Malley's doesn't. I got to meet Malley, actually, way back in the earlier days of my channel. I got to go to New York to one of her like blogger events, back when there were more bloggers than YouTubers, and that was awesome. That was so fun. But here I am just applying this, and this is a great mascara. Gosh, I set this aside a little bit just in the name of experimenting with other mascaras, but this is so good. Thickening, lengthening, holding curl. And yes, Malley was in Ulta for a time. Now you're gonna find her products on QVC as they always have been. She's done some collabs with RuPaul. Actually, I think recently did a round 2 with RuPaul. And even if you're not interested in her makeup, like check her out on Instagram. She does so much with positivity. She kind of calls herself a positivity preacher. She always puts on some really uplifting messages on her Instagram, and I enjoy her family and everything Malley stands for. I think good stuff. Oh, this is just building up so quick. This is practically building up. I mean, granted, this tube had a little bit of age on it, but it's building up with ease, and it's kind of giving me superhero vibes. Like, really gorgeous. I'm loving that little light behind it where we use the highlighter on the lid. It's like the lashes are the window pane, and the light on in the background is that shadow. I saw the light in your window tonight. If there's any singer I can kind of sing a little bit like, it's Winona. Don't get me started on No One Else on Earth. If we could just all go out to karaoke together some night, that's my song. Oh, look at that. So happy with that mascara. I'm just taking a little bit of Thrive down to the lowers. Let those bulk up a little bit more. I'm gonna try to not make any more messes. Oh man, I also had pulled out this because I wanted to mention Nude Sticks. Nude Sticks I don't feel like gets enough love, and I do love their skin tint. I also really like this all over face color in the shade Bareback, but I don't think I really would have wanted to fit in another blush on this look, but this is really nice. I love that kind of dusty, kind of neutral pink tone. But I'm gonna mention Besame for lips, and this is their 1970 shade. I think it's their Chocolate Kiss shade. It's a little more neutral. They've got a ton of reds. Basically, Besame does an incredible job of putting out gorgeous lipsticks. Like I'm looking over here, I've got some from the Sleeping Beauty collection. Just stunning lipsticks that are meant, here's the blue. There's their one oddball. I love how I pull that out. Their color changing blue, but that had a point because, you know, Aurora's dress went from blue to pink and all that. But they're doing basically replicas of classic lipstick formulas like Red Hot Red. That was Marilyn Monroe's signature red. They're all associated with a certain year. They're doing the research and they're figuring out like how to reproduce some iconic shades. So many of them are reds. This one is not a pure red. This is my mini, but I thought, you know, my look today maybe wasn't going to cater perfectly to a red lip. So I would use this one. But the staying power on Besame lipsticks is amazing. I should link below to some videos where I've completely geeked out on Besame. And they advise actually like pop them on with a lip brush, blot, apply them again. Your staying power will be off the charts. I wore the Dusty Rose shade when I gave birth to Biddy, I believe. It lasted. Yes, it did. It lasted well. But this is Chocolate Kiss, and I love how it turned out. The little bit of warmth in this shade would play off of that rustiness on the eye really nicely. But they're creamy, they're fantastic quality lipsticks, but they have a story, you know? They've done some special edition collections too with different eyeshadow palettes, different Disney tie-in sets like, you know, the Sleeping Beauty. There's been a gorgeous Snow White collection, and they'll go in and look at the original colors that were used in like the animation, in the art from the movie, and then recreate that in an eyeshadow palette. And with surprisingly amazing quality in those eyeshadows for them being a brand that seems to major in lipsticks so much. Besame is not to be overlooked, but I feel like they deserve much more love here on YouTube. Well, let's take the hair down. Freshly cleaned hair. That really gives my eye a different look when I line the lower inner rim, doesn't it? But the Dermablend stuff, I think we can all agree Dermablend is hardcore coverage. I'd like to learn more about their brand. The only thing outside of the concealer and foundation that I have used has been a loose powder that was really nice, actually, like a setting powder. So I was impressed with that. I really liked this shade called Emphasize in this palette, that unusually brightening shade that yet did not seem to have shimmer, but it wasn't matte, like it was just strange. I really like that. Greatly enjoyed the contents of all of these little Laura Geller floral palettes. I think those are awesome. The Malley mascara was great. Of course, you know I'm loving my Besame lipstick, so these are just some, not all, but some of the brands that I feel don't get a lot of buzz and attention on YouTube. And I'd love to open up that conversation to you all in the comments section if you have anything to add or share where this is concerned. Got a big loop of hair back there. But I so appreciate you taking time to watch these videos. It just makes my day to get to sit down here and make them for you, and I'm so glad you enjoy. So I will talk to you again very soon. I love you. Bye.